and it's a paraphrase of the book of James. Now listen, kids, don't be snobs just because you found something wonderful in Jesus Christ. You know some big shots and also some people who don't amount to too much, and they try to impress the big shots and just ignore the feelings of the others. That means you're trying to set yourself up as a big shot too, and that's a tragic mistake. Isn't it obvious that God doesn't give a hoot about what size shot you are? Very cleverly written. That's from chapter 2, of course. There's a lot of sound doctrine in hell. So forth. I think you would find it very helpful to give to a young couple, and you might possibly get permission to mimeograph the thing. I understood that it was to be reprinted, but I have never seen the reprint. April 55, his magazine. Now today we want to address ourselves to a very crucial subject in connection with Christian home life. That is the relationship of the church and the home. The relation of the church and the home. Now I think we realize that these are two agencies which are essentially allies, not aliens. And I think we need to get back to the concept of the New Testament, where we find the church and the home inseparably related. New Testament Christianity was a family business, and the homes were essentially the center of faith. And I think we've departed much from this particular concept. And I've often wondered how much of the world has rubbed off on us in our present life. Today, instead of these two working as a cooperative proposition, there is quite a bit of competition being fostered. The church, for example, from my point of view, is doing a great deal to break up the average Christian home. And the home is doing a great deal to break up our churches. For the greatest losses come when we do not have the families, the parents of the children in our Sunday school. Now what we want to do today is to see how we can weld these together. But in order to do that, we must first of all find out what are the things that are drawing them apart. In other words, what are the problems involved in a failure to have home church cooperation? I want you to put yourself in the place of a pastor or a Christian education director this morning. And I want you to tell me what troubles the home causes the church. You think of any troubles that the home is causing on the church today? What?
The problem of inconsistency.
All right. First of all, the problem of inconsistency, particularly between that which we teach and that which we live. And certainly the place where this will reveal itself most is in home life. What other problem?
Lack of cooperation.
All right, in what way, Don?
Well, you don't have the support from the family unit for church activity. That's like Sunday school. You don't have the pressure at home. You don't get them all there.
Good. In other words, the lack of encouragement in the home for the work of the church. I think we could also add to that same concept, perhaps broadening a little bit, but the fact that oftentimes the home breaks down what the church is trying to build up. They're tearing down what we're trying to erect. In many cases, the home doesn't even know what the church is doing, and usually cares very little. What else are they doing? Bob?
Would you say that there's a breakdown in family life and home life?
Absolutely. The whole breakdown of the family unit, the disintegration of family life. What other problems do we face? Very crucial problem, isn't it, Dick? Anybody who teaches or works in the Sunday school or the church recognizes that we're fighting a losing battle if we're trying to teach a child discipline in 1 hour on Sunday morning when throughout the rest of the week discipline is being run roughshod of. What else? All right? And that works particular havoc on a child. Here's a little fellow in the beginner's department. Well, he wants to go to Sunday school. He enjoys it. But he doesn't get there because we're going to so-and-so. We're going to Grandma's. He doesn't have any choice in the matter. He's pushing the car and let's go. So next week everybody crawls all over little Johnny because he didn't come to Sunday school last week. Whereas actually he couldn't do a blessed thing about it. Actually, if he had his choice, he'd want to be there. And that also goes back to the problem of parents bringing the child to the Sunday school and the church and then leaving him there. See, not coming themselves, just dropping them off. All right, what else? Yes?
I had one I read just a couple weeks ago. I guess you call it lack of common sense. That's where the adults get together and have either roast preacher or roast somebody off the church, the kids over here, and then come back into a group of the other kids and get back to the person they were talking about, the kids.
Amen, brother. Boy, that is basic. What you ran into the other week, you will be running into the rest of the weeks. And that is a spirit of criticism. They're criticizing the pastor, they're criticizing the program of the church, they're criticizing the leadership, everything in the book. Do you know who's the chief offender on this sometimes? A convicted look sweeps over the audience. Absolutely. While they're having roast preacher, we're having roast people. That's much more delicious from our occupational vantage point. And boy, I find this is a tremendous temptation. In other words, a person in my position knows too much. By virtue of the fact that you're a leader, you know too much. I mean, you're on the ends of the board, you're on the ends of this, that, and the other, and you know so much that it's so easy to come home, and though you may have to conceivably discuss these matters with your wife, let's say, the danger is to discuss all of this in front of the kids. Boy, you have to really fight it to resist the temptation. There are many times when my wife and I have to discuss certain things. There are things that are problem areas in our work. But the thing that we've had to do is to be a check on each other, to cut off things that we sense are possibly detrimental to the children. I don't think that means running around with your head in the sand. Our problems, a lot of problems in our church type of approach, which is also quite common. But the point is, there's no purpose gained in dangling these things in front of the kid. Spirit of criticism. What's one thing that you get over and over again, even from Christians, this matter of the church? Home causing a problem to the church. Bob?
When they program is balance, they're either going one extreme of doing everything or having no compromise or not doing anything.
All right, good. I think you put your finger on it. That is the problem of we're too busy. Now, sometimes they're too busy even in church work to foster home life. So this is going to be a sword that cuts in two directions. We're going to see that it's also valuable when we see the problems that the church creates for the home. But one of the problems that the home creates for the church is we're too busy. We're sorry, preacher, we just can't get to these meetings. We're loaded. Well, we're running all over the place. We just don't have time for this type of thing. Anything else that you found fosters it? I think if we can pinpoint these problems, men, in our minds, it's going to go a long way toward us finding the solution and finding what it is that we're up against. And I'm not sure that the average man is thoroughly appraised of the problem. Yes, Ed?
It's a stronger problem that is direct and negative. It makes it a lack of cooperation, but it makes it stronger.
How would you account for it?
Well, that would be mainly accounted for the fact that the unsaved home where you receive one of the children.
Right. I think this whole problem of disagreement in the home, it may be by virtue of their unregenerate viewpoint, it might be by virtue of the fact that you have two Christians who are not adjusted to each other and are constantly bickering, quarreling, and usually this gets, one of the targets that they get these arrows is the church. And often the kids come and take it out on the teachers. I think another problem area is that parents often do not know what to do to cooperate with the church. In other words, there's not only the problem of indifference we've mentioned, but there's also the problem of ignorance. And then one other thing that I would like to add is the tendency today on the part of the home, even the Christian home, to push all of the responsibility onto the church. In fact, not only to push it onto the church, but to push it on any agency that's willing to be a dumping ground for their failure. Now, I think we can see from these, and there are others that could be adduced, that we're up against a real problem. But the problem is not all church-centered. That is, it's not always a problem that simply focuses on the church. There is also a problem that focuses on the home. Now let's reverse your gears a little bit. Can you think, as a Christian parent, of some of the problems which the church causes you? Now, we don't like to think of it, and we often don't think of it, but let's be a little more analytic this morning. Can you think of some real problems that our conservative evangelical churches are causing, or at least have a part in causing, in home life? All right, I think in fairness we have to admit that, don't we? That in some cases we are making too much of a demand upon our home life. To the detriment of home life. Now, there are many solutions to these. I think one of them is the fact that we mentioned before that some of these events could be bunched so that people could go together as a family. And man, I would urge you as you go into a pastorate to think from this point of view. When you arrange something, try to sit down and think, now what effect does this have on a family? I sat down with a pastor not too long ago, and he was talking about his evening program. I said, now look, the way this thing is set up, if a family wanted to participate in this, a man would have to make 3 trips to the church on Sunday evening. Now, brother, the average person isn't about to make 3 trips to the church. Especially if he lives 10 miles from the church. He comes here because it's a distinctive ministry. He's not going to come here for the choir and come here for the young people and then come over here for something else. You're going to have to group some of these so that when he comes, he can come once. What's another problem?
Maybe part of the same thing about it, really breaking up the family. One night for one group, another night for another group, so the family members together.
Yeah, I think maybe that would be, and if we don't understand that, we should. That this is one of the things we're after. This whole idea, you see, of Monday having this activity and Tuesday this. Wednesday prayer meeting and Thursday something else. And by the time you sit down, if a person actually went to all these things, he wouldn't have a night at home. There wouldn't be one night left when he could have a family night, even if he wanted to. Now you can be sure that the average person isn't, unless you motivate them for it, unless you tell them how and so forth. So anything along this line is going to encourage breakdown instead of the other. And here Johnny runs off here. Well, if we have anything, then Johnny's left out of this thing. Tuesday night, Susie goes to Pioneer Girls, so if we have anything Tuesday, she's out. Wednesday, we all go to prayer meeting with the exception that they don't have anything for the young people, and so Bob isn't really too keyed up about going anyway. You don't want to pray with adults. Afraid to pray there. And you go on this way through the week. Thursday's choir rehearsal, and if 2 of the members of the family are in the choir and the other 3 aren't, well, 2 go and 3 stay at home, so forth. What else? Yeah, a few problems. Somebody woke up. Yes, Howard?
I think many churches aren't warm and friendly to people coming in. Not that they don't show a sincere desire to help and interest.
Now, are we relating this to our home life?
I think the church isn't friendly to the people in the home, so that there's a barrier. People wanting to come to the church.
You're talking essentially about welcoming people when they come. In other words, they don't feel at home there.
That would be a church problem, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I don't see how that's causing a problem in the home. See, what we're trying to do is to get, how is my church fostering problems in my home? Now, we recognize the church has problems in the church.
Oh, I see what you're getting at.
Yeah, but what we're trying to do is find out what kind of thing is it fostering in the home. Yes, Walt?
I think a lot of times our program in the church is through the church center. In other words, we're thinking of what can we do with these people to foster growth in our church, and we're not telling the ignorant from a part of the family of what they can do about teaching the family.
All right. In other words, what we're doing is transferring the center of teaching. And instead of bringing people to the church and training them here so that they know what to do at home, and so they do the job of training at home, we bring them over here. We'll do it here for you. So we're helping, you see, about that. Don, what were you going to say? Same thing? Ed?
I think the whole problem of division of financial lives, the Catholic Church program makes a tremendous financial burden on family all together.
All right, particularly from the standpoint of the pressure that's put on kids to give. I think so. And the average family just doesn't have that much to go around in some cases. Especially if you have family planning and finances. Where, they say, well, there's $10 out of this, it's going to go to the Lord. Well, $10 just goes so far. And therefore it would have to be distributed adequately. What else? You ever send your kids to church and they come home? They learn what you want them to learn? What's the problem? I would put that about up at the top myself. Inadequate staff of teachers. They're unqualified, they're untrained, they're unprepared. I don't know about you, but boy, sometimes I just shudder. I think of sending this little kiddo to Sunday school to realize that for 1 hour he's going to sit under what? You say, well, so he won't learn anything. No, he never learns. Just nothing. He's learning something. What he's probably learning is that this really isn't worth too much anyway. Because when I go to school, boy, they seem to put everything they got in it. And when I go here, it's the same thing. But boy, you go to church, we flub around in church. Anything goes. Bob?
Along with that, there's always a high ideal. And by the point of
especially in this area where it appears. Yes, Dan?
I
Don?
think you can tell people what to do without showing them the result that how much you told them how to set up your home and all that. So you really show them.
All right, where have we failed in that, you think, Don?
Well, first of all, they were haircuts.
That's it, first, all right.
Then after some winter, they might call a follow-up. They really show them the pastor living in the home and he has no training class.
All right, in other words, we haven't actually trained in this area, have we? And not only haven't we trained, but as Don has pointed out, we haven't actually shown and helped to foster for program personal visitation, for literature, for many of these other things that we might use. I think that's very crucial. Here's one I added. One gripe I have against the church is that my children learn more bad habits than good ones. Now, you know as well as I do, if you have children or trying to work with them at any time, how hard it is to inculcate good habits. Somebody sees your kid sometime and this kid blows a stack or he fails to say thank you at the party or something else, and it's, why, parents just never teach that child. Well, anybody who has children immediately erases such foolish judgment as this. Because you can tell the kid 3,000 times and he walks out and the next time you meet somebody he didn't say thank you. You see, it's something that's built up over a lifetime of teaching and emphasis on this thing. But the thing that breaks it down is, here I teach my children reverence for the Lord's house. Boy, I really camp on this with them. Really work them overtime. Then they come to church and they watch the believers in action. The leaders, no less. I mean, after all, I'm just a two-bit member of this thing or so, you know. But here are the leaders. You watch them carrying on this floor show on Sunday morning and so forth. And brother, you can be sure that you have an awful hard time convincing them of the habit you're trying to instill in them. I think another thing in connection with this improperly trained problem is the inadequate facilities. Overcrowding. If you want to know one of my real gripes, it's to see a church spend thousands of dollars to put up a building and then not spend 10 cents on the equipment and the inside of the building. Thousands of dollars to put up a building and won't spend $100 to landscape it, to make it look like something. You look on the outside, boy, it looks as shoddy, as tacky as anything could conceivably be. Or you go on the inside, they don't have paint on the walls, old rickety chairs they brought over from the last 6 buildings that they had. Nail them together. Maybe some dear soul comes along and gives them another coat of varnish to just magnify how really pathetic it is. And fail just to invest actually a relatively small amount to get the job done. One other problem to me that's very crucial we haven't solved, and that is the problem of the very bright child or the very dull one. Actually, the problem comes more with the bright one than it does with the dull one. Over and over again I've heard kids say, why should I go? I don't get anything. There's only one group that I know that's doing anything about this. That's the Roman Catholics. You know that they have a systematic program afoot on the part of the teachers in their schools to screen bright children. All of the kids that show any exceptional ability are all separated. For what? Priesthood, nunnery. gal who lived next door to me was probably as brilliant a little individual as I've ever seen. Grew up with me. Just a sharp gal. Sharp in every conceivable way. Brilliant mind. I can still remember when that child was 7 years of age, they were grooming her to be a nun. That's what she is today. She's the principal of one of their leading Catholic schools in Philadelphia. Catholic girls' school. Right from the early stage, they just start working on it. They spend all their time. They stay after, you keep the kid after school, you stay with me. She stays around, builds all of her ideal around Sister so-and-so. See? The boys push him off on Father so-and-so. He gets them, he takes them in his room, and he talks to them about what he does, takes them over to church, around the altar, he makes an altar boy out of them. All these things. See, just groom an individual. Just sort of taking off the scum, so to speak. In this case, the good, the cream, and reserving them for our own Christian leadership. Tremendous program. Then I think one other thing I would level is there's no challenge. The church often feels they must entertain, not educate. That's pathetic when you realize that the church is an educational institution, not an entertaining enterprise. And then last of all, the traditionalism plague. The plague of traditionalism. Well, you know, we've done this for so-and-so. Now, these are some of the problems. Now, how are we going to solve these things? What are we going to do about them? Can we do anything about them? Well, this is what we're going to do this morning. We're going to divide the class. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. 2, 4, 6, 8. That's right. Right down here. You fellas over this side. We'll get over there in a group. You fellas will get over here in a group. This is what I'd like you to do. I'd like you fellas over on this side to take what can the church do. I want some tangible, concrete suggestions. What can the church do to help secure home church cooperation? And what I want you to do on this side is to say, what can the home do to build stronger church-home relationships? You got the home, you got the church. Right? Okay, you fellas will get over there in that corner, and you guys will get over here. All right, marriage, family, devotion. How could you do that, Don? How would you start? Suppose you wanted to encourage family devotion.
In my own family?
No, in your church.
Oh, I see.
Go in your home, I guess would be the better. Okay, you're talking about your home. I'm still over in the church. They got me so involved. I'm still there.
Make them meaningful.
All right? Good.
All everybody involved.
Good. So that they're right on the child's level, so that all of us are involved. Good. All right. What about the church? What can you do? Coordination of church programs. What do you have in mind by that, eh?
Have a family night at the church, 3 nights for a family night.
All right. Family night not only is the church, but the home. This is something overlooked. We think of the family night at home, possibly, but not at the church. Why not have a social time? Ed suggested, I think it was he who suggested that we meet together for a picnic once a year. That's one time when we get together. Why couldn't we have more of them? A number of churches that are getting real keyed up about this idea and are having wonderful success because it certainly unites the family. We all go at the same time. Like one parent said to me, "Good night, this is one time, at least we get together as a family." We came in the same car. Wonderful. Okay, what your attitude toward finances, you see, would go a long way toward building a child's attitude toward the church's financial program.
We also include recreation.
Good. Church?
Family clinic.
Good. Okay. Family clinic. There's another idea we can bring up over there, but I'd like to add to this, and that's the idea of a family conference. Now, I'm not speaking so much like a missionary conference. I'm talking about a vacation project. You better put that down. Last year I was in Mount Hermon, the evangelical preacher in the West Coast, had a family conference. Ed was the director of the youth section of the thing. And they had phenomenal success with it, didn't they? Three camps. And yet they were together for meals and other things. I think that's a growing type of thing. Good possibility. Well, in the home.
Somebody suggested that if a parent is really family-minded, he should strive for position of leadership in the church.
All right. Well, let's put assume place of leadership, or at least we could put responsibility, couldn't we, in church? He may not be a natural leader, but he could take responsibility sometime in the church. I got a hold of an idea the other day from somebody here in Dallas. They're really doing a lot to foster this type of thing. They have what they call church projects that they take on as a family. They take this project for 2 or 3 months. And this is a family. Now, one thing they did was to decide to work on the church lawn. They felt was a disgrace. So they took some of their money, the Lord's money, and they planted some plants over there and trimmed the shrubbery up, put some fertilizer on the lawn. And this fellow told me, boy, every Saturday morning they take off for the church as a family to work on the thing. This is our church. And you can think of all kinds of things they could do. Folding bullets, running off the bullets. 1,016 things I could suggest they could do in a church. What about the church? What's that? All right. Whole realm of literature. Why are these boys up over here? You guys need the same fire on producing literature for your own congregation. You squeal like a bunch of pigs that there's not literature in this field, but brother, if somebody's going to produce it, you're going to have to do it. Now, you wrote up for this project some of these little booklets for things that are dynamite. Now, my point is, instead of printing away your time and a lot of things that you do in the church, put it into some constructive production of literature. Some of the men suggested the use of the church library and the development of a reading list, which would cover suggestions for every age group of family. I think that's a wonderful possibility. Pamphlets, tracts, things of that type might be used. But,
Just church meetings, social in the home.
church meetings in the home. You mean, for example, like the back home hour, something along that line?
By meeting, say that before it comes to the home.
Oh, actually, good. Meetings in home.
Instead of the father running away, instead of meeting at home. That side of the church.
Or that would take somebody else's spot their way. The point is, they're going to have the meeting anyway, when it at least centers it. What else did we used to do more in years gone by than we do now that it's strong as that? Cottage prayer meeting. Cottage prayer meeting idea. There's a lot of value to it. What, not only in meetings at home, but what else could you have in the home? Who else? Yeah, sure. For instance, on limited days, kind of big church, pretty hard to get the whole church right.
We had invite the pastor, members of the church
Right.
staff, missionaries,
pointed this out because this would rectify the problem that we pointed out, that is of an inadequate teaching situation. And I would emphasize in this connection, in the teacher training, the emphasis upon the fact that we, as a school, are training them for home life. In other words, here, pushing your home proposition. Now, I want to add to this list for you some suggestions that we have used over a period of years in different situations the next hour. And then I would also like, if you would do this for next hour, if you would come with some of the problem areas which may have emerged through this course. You'll notice we devoted the last hour to a discussion of some practical problems that may have cropped up that we have not been able to cover. And we'll try to turn our hour into somewhat of a discussion and see if we can pinpoint some of the areas we may have overlooked.